right, so ladies and gentlemen, Thursday, another asynchronous day. I'm going to be having you open the same assignment, the same two links, and you're basically going to do the second problem. This video is going to show you some things about the first problem if you want to make some corrections, and then the second one, you'll be doing kind of the same thing. All right, so open up these two links. One of them will be the extending patterns, and the other one will be the figures, which you'll have to make 2, 3, and 4. All right. Like I said, I'm going to go over this first one, a couple things I want you to pay attention to, and then you're going to come down and do the second one. So that's why if you have submitted it, I have unsubmitted or made them open again, so you can go ahead and do those. All right, sorry about that. So here we go. Looking at this pattern, there's a couple things that you should notice, and I hope you guys were able to do this. I was looking through some of your work, and it looks pretty good. Like I said, make corrections if you need to, but I'm looking at it here, and you can count it up. I think we talked about it. You can't really count it. You really need to just count the number of tiles, So this one was 7, 15, 24, so it added a different amount each time. So you want to take a look at the pieces, I would say. So when I say pieces, this is how I would break it down personally. And perhaps I should have changed the order of the questions. This is really the first question you should be trying to answer, in my opinion. How is the pattern changing? That way, once you get that, that's basically your rule. And then you're just going to use that to create the first, the fifth, and the 100th figure. All right, but we need to use the things we know to figure out the things we don't know. So here we go. Let's look at what we know. We know that it has this kind of L shape or this kind of bottom row and then a piece on top. And then it looks like we always have 1 on the top here. All right. So that's how I'm going to break it down first off. I'm going to say every one of our figures has 1 tile on the top. All right. And so I'm going to go ahead and type that right here. Every figure has 1 tile on top. All right, so that's a rule. We have to follow that rule now every time. And as long as figure 1 and 5, they work, they look like they're supposed to, we should be okay. All right, now, what we have left. We have these rows of 2 and this row of 3. How I broke it down, I kind of just took this tail off and looked at how the tail changed. And then there was this main body then that I took a look at how it changed. So if you look, this tail, figure 2 has 1, figure 3 has 2, figure 4 has 3. So at every figure, it has a tail, and that tail is 1 less than the figure number. Now I'm going to explain why the figure number is important, but I'm going to say tail has 1 less than figure number. All right, now this is not the only way you can break it down. There's another way, and I'll probably talk about that briefly, but so far I've accounted for this kind of head, the tail on both. And now we look at the main body, and how are we going to define this? Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one has 12. This one has 20, 6, 12, 20. There's no real pattern there. So what I would think about is look at what's happening though. It's a 2. It's a rectangle. They're all rectangles, right? They're all 2 by 3. For figure 2. This one is 3 across and 4 up. So you can kind of use the L, and I'm thinking of like the length and the width. This one is 4 by 5. So every time this rectangle is the figure number across and the figure number plus 1 up, 2 by 3, 3 by 4. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the body has dimensions, and that's the length up and the width across, has dimensions figure number by the figure number plus 1. And all that means is at figure 2, we have that rectangle. We have that rectangle of 2 by 3. At figure 3, we have 3 by 4. Okay, so that's one way you could write the rules. That is not the only way. You could think about, I think the fact that there's always one on top, there are a couple different ways to look at it. I always think of the one on top. Seems like everybody seems to say that. And then you could say, well, there's this square, right? Same thing here, another square on top of the bottom row, another square on top of the bottom row. You could think about it like that. And then just look at what's happening on the bottom. 7, 5, 3. As you go down, it goes down by 1. As you go up, it'll go, I'm sorry, by 2. Go up, it goes up by 2. There's a square that is the same as the figure number, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4, and then there's 1 on top. However, you need to think about those rules and create the rules to represent your pattern. And what's nice about these rules is there's no variables, there's no equations. It's just written rules that you're going to follow. Now I'm going to follow my rules and say, okay, well, every figure, or let's start with the tail. It has 1 less than the figure number, right? So I'm thinking the tail here. So this one has 1, this one has 2, this one has 3. So let's go backwards. 3, 2, 1. Figures 1 will have 0 on the tail. Okay, so we're good there. What's my next rule? The body has dimensions figure number by figure number plus 1. So let's take a look. When I say the body, I'm talking about the rectangle, right? It's 2 by 3. This one was 3 by 4. Let's go backwards. 3 by 4, 2 by 3. So it'll be 1 by 2. So what I mean by that is 1 across and 2 up and down. You can see this is it's not very wide. It's only 2, and then it's higher at 3. So it's only 1 across and 2 up. And then we have always 1 on the top. That is what figure 1 looks like. No matter what way you write your pattern, your rules, that's what it's going to look like. Now let's go upward. So the tail, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the tail on this one will be 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we have a rectangle. It's the figure number across. So this one will be 5 across and then 6 going up. So 1, I'm not going to draw all this out, but 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it'll be 6 going up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that would be 6 right there because 5 plus 1. And then obviously you'd complete everything out here. You make that square or that rectangle, I'm sorry. And then the 1 on top. All right, so figure 1 and figure 5 would be done. Now what about figure 100? Let's use our rules. I'm going to switch over to be able to draw. Where am I here? All right. And let's think of the rules that we just wrote. There's 1 on top. Always. Right? There's a body that is a rectangle. And then there's some kind of tail out like this. And this is figure 100. Okay, so I'm going to cut off this one on top just so you can see the figure number because that's important. So the reason we use the figure number as a reference is once we get up to 100, we don't really want to keep adding tiles. Like, oh, I'm going to add this many, I'm going to add this many. Think about how easy it was to use those rules we just wrote to create figures 1 and 5. So when you think about 100, there's always 1 on top. The tail has 1 less than the figure number. So in terms of number of tiles, figure 100 will have 99 tiles in the tail. 1 less than the figure number. Now let's think about this rectangle. Now this is a mistake I saw a lot of people make. All right. It says that the dimensions are the figure number by the figure number plus 1. So that means across there will be 100 tiles. sorry, I wrote here, there will be 100 tiles, and then up there will be 101. Figure number plus 1. Now, the thing to be careful with here, guys, is length times width will give you the number of tiles, the area. So 100 times 101 will give you 10,100 tiles. A lot of people are mixing that up where you think you're going to add them. You multiply to get all of, because it's 100 across, and then 101 going up. But you don't add them because you got 100 rows of 101. Add all this up, 10,100 plus 99 plus 1. There are 10,200 tiles in total. All right. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take a look at the figures and break them down and think about where you see the growth. Because it's not just the fact that it's growth, it's the fact that it holds this shape. And if we can break it apart into pieces, we can reference the figure number and talk about each of those pieces. All right. So fix this one if you got it incorrect, or whatever mistakes you made, and then come down here and complete number 2, page 2 of the worksheet. All right, guys, take care.